The broom slipped from her hands and hit the floor before he could finish the thought. 1 second she was sweeping slow, careful, like she had all the time in the world. The next she folded at the waist and dropped hard, her shoulder cracking against the wood. He was already moving. "Hey," he said. "Hey. Don't do that." She was on her side, breath thin, eyes open but not looking. Her mouth moved like she was trying to remember how to speak. "Papa." The word landed wrong. It didn't echo. It sank. "No," he said. "You don't." Her fingers twitched. She dragged one palm across the floor, reaching for nothing. "I found you." He knelt beside her and put a hand on her shoulder. "Too hot." Fever heat, sharp and dry. He shook her once, then again, harder than he meant to. "Hey. Look at me." Her head lolled. Blood streaked her sleeve, dark and tacky. He checked fast. Not her blood. Someone else's. That made his stomach turn more than if it had been. "Don't do this," he said. "You don't get to come in here and do this." She didn't answer. Her eyes slid shut like a door pulled by gravity. He swore under his breath and hooked an arm under her back, another behind her knees. She was light. Lighter than she should be. He carried her through the narrow hall and into the front room, boots thudding, heart louder than both. The house held its breath with him. No radio. No ticking clock. Just the sound of him breathing and the low rasp of hers. He laid her on the old couch and stepped back like he'd touched something that could burn him later. He stood there a second too long, staring at her face. Young. Dirt-smudged. Haircut rough, like she'd done it herself with a dull blade. "What's your name?" he said. "Nothing." He grabbed a rag from the sink and came back, knelt again. He wiped her forehead. She flinched but didn't wake. "You didn't steal nothin'," he said, though she couldn't hear him. "So don't look guilty." He checked the cut on her arm. Shallow. Not what worried him. The blood was from somewhere else, and that meant there was somewhere else. Someone else. He looked back toward the door. The broom still lay where it fell. She'd been sweeping the corners first. Not the middle. The corners. Like she knew dirt hides there. Like someone taught her to start where things collect. He stood and shut the door, slow, quiet. He slid the lock home. The sound felt loud anyway. Back at the couch, he crouched and watched her chest. Up. Down. Too fast, but steady. He let out a breath he hadn't meant to hold. She stirred, lips parting. "Papa," she said again, softer now. He shook his head. "Don't call me that." Her brow creased like she heard him somewhere far away. "I had to," she murmured. "Mama said." He froze. "Said what?" he asked. But she was already slipping back under. Her hand moved against the cushion, fingers curling like she was holding a broom handle that wasn't there anymore. He sat back on his heels. His knees ached. His chest felt tight in a way that had nothing to do with age. "This ain't funny," he said to the empty room. The house didn't answer. It never did. He stood and paced once, then again. He rubbed his face hard, like he could scrub something off. When he stopped, he was right back in front of her. Drawn there. Stuck there. He looked at her mouth. The shape of it when she said the word. The way it sounded. "No one calls me that," he said. Her breathing hitched, then steadied. He leaned closer, slow, careful, like sudden moves might wake something worse than sleep. He watched her chest rise. Fall. Rise again. Then, so quiet it barely made sound, he said a name he hadn't said in years. He cleaned her arm slow, the way you do when you don't want to wake someone but don't trust them to stay asleep. The rag was damp, water gone pink. She flinched once, a sharp pull in her shoulder, then settled again. Her face tightened like she was bracing for a hit that didn't come. "You didn't steal nothin'," he said. His voice came out rough, like it had been sitting and used. He wiped again, careful around the cut. He paused. Looked at her face. "So don't look guilty." She breathed through her nose, fast and shallow. Sweat ran down her temple into her hair. He pressed the back of his hand to her cheek. "Too warm." "Still." He went to the kitchen and grabbed the bottle from the cabinet. The good stuff he kept for nights he didn't sleep. He poured a little on the rag and came back. The smell hit her before the touch did. She stirred. Her eyes cracked open, unfocused. Her lips moved. "Gotta finish," she mumbled. "Finish what?" he asked. "Before he gets home." He froze with the rag midair. "Who?" he said. She swallowed. Her throat worked like it hurt. "Mama said. Corners first. Always the corners." He lowered the rag and watched her face. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking past him, into something older than the room. "Mama said keep the corners clean," she whispered. "That's where it hides." He sat back. The couch creaked under the shift of his weight. "Who's your mama?" he asked. She turned her head then. Slow. Her eyes found his. For a second they were clear. Sharp. Knowing. "You know." The word hit harder than the first time she said Papa. It landed and stayed. He looked down at her arm to give his hands something to do. That's when he saw the scar. Just above her elbow. Pale against the dirt. A curve with a break in it. Like a bent shoe. Like heat pressed into skin and held there. His breath caught. "No," he said. Not loud. Just firm. Like saying it might make it true. She shifted, wincing. "Hurts," she said. "I know," he answered. He finished cleaning the cut and wrapped it with a strip torn from an old shirt. His fingers shook. He hated that more than anything. He stood and paced. 1 step. 2. Back again. He talked to the walls. To himself. To the past. "Should have stayed," he muttered. "Should have shut my mouth. Should have burned it down when I had the chance." She groaned softly. "They said you ran," she said, eyes closed now. "Said you were scared." He stopped moving. "I wasn't scared," he said. "I was tired." Her mouth curved, just a little. Not a smile. Something sadder. "Same thing," she said. He knelt again. Close enough to feel her breath. Close enough to see the dirt under her nails. Same habit. Same as his. Never could keep them clean. "You don't know me," he said. She opened her eyes. This time they stayed open. "I do," she said. Chapter 3. No one calls me that. He stood over her and folded his arms. She watched him like he might disappear if she blinked. "Don't call me that," he said. "Why?" she said. "Because I ain't him." She tried to sit up. Too fast. The room tipped. He caught her before she fell back. "Easy," he said. She pushed his hand away. "You don't get to decide that," she said. "I already did," he said. She breathed hard, staring at the ceiling. "I crossed 3 counties," she said. "Walked nights. Hid from badges." "Why?" he asked. "They said you were dead." "Who said?" he asked, men with smiles. He went to the window and pulled the curtain aside. The road was empty. Dust hung low. "They don't smile for free," he said. She laughed once. It hurt her. "They do when they already own you," she said. He locked the door. "Check the back latch. You shouldn't have come," he said. "I didn't come for you," she said. "Then why say it?" he asked. She looked at him. Really looked. "Because it's true," she said. "No," he said. "You left," she said. He flinched. "I did what I had to," he said. "So did Mama," she said. Silence pressed in. He turned back to the window. Headlights bloomed at the bend. Get down, he said. She slid off the couch, slow, careful, the way she swept. He watched the light crawl across the glass. No one calls me that, he said again. She looked up from the floor. I will, she said. The engine idled outside. Gravel popped. He moved to the wall and grabbed the rifle. Stay here, he said. You ain't my boss, she said. I am in this house, he said. She pressed her back to the cabinet. Badges don't knock, she said. Neither do men who smile, he said. The headlights swept the room, slow and searching. Her face went pale, then shadowed. Is it them? She asked. He didn't answer. He listened. Footsteps stopped by the porch. A hand touched the door. Easy, he said again. Not to her. She reached for his sleeve. Say it again, she whispered. He closed his eyes. No, he said. The handle rattled. Papa, she said. He opened his eyes. The words sat between them like a promise and a threat. Get ready, he said. She nodded once. The light slid away, then came back brighter. A voice cleared its throat. Outside. Evening. The voice said. He didn't move. Don't answer, she said. He lifted the rifle. Don't shoot yet, she said. How do you know? He asked. They want you scared, she said. He breathed once. The porch creaked. You hear that? He asked. Yeah, she said. It's the past. He almost laughed. Don't get poetic, he said. I ain't, she said. Another knock, soft this time. Say it again, she said. No one calls me that, he said. Slower. She met his eyes. I do, she said. The silence stretched. He lowered the rifle an inch. After this, he said, we talk. She nodded. After this, she said, you listen. He didn't answer. The door handle turned again. Last chance, he said. She squeezed his sleeve. Whatever you are, she said, be it. He straightened. Stay down, he said. She stayed. The headlights slid off the house. Footsteps retreated. He waited. Counted breaths. Are they gone? She asked. For now, he said. She exhaled. You still don't want it? She asked. He looked at the floor. No one calls me that, he said. She lay back, tired. I'll wait, she said. He watched the door. Her breathing slowed. The house held the word between them, but he stayed where he was. Outside. The night listened. Inside. He did too. No one, he whispered. She answered without opening her eyes. I heard you, she said. He swallowed. The light from the road faded for good. He stood guard. The word stayed awake. He touched the lock once more. Tomorrow, he said. She smiled. Barely. You will see, she said. He watched her breathe. The house waited. Headlights did not return. The silence stayed thick. He stayed with it, listening for his name in the dark. Not yet. Not tonight. The porch creaked under boots before the voice even came. Friendly enough, smooth, but the kind of voice that slides like a knife. Evenin'. Got reports of a girl. He leaned against the doorframe, rifle resting just out of reach. Plenty of girls in the world, he said. She pressed herself into the shadows, low, behind the table. Her hands were still shaking. Governor's family's worried, the man said, stepping closer. The light hit his badge. Cold metal glinting. His smile was polite. Thin. Empty. Didn't know Worry wore a badge, the cowboy said. His hand twitched toward the rifle. The sheriff, or whatever he was, tilted his head at the broom lying by the door. A slow, careful smile. Funny thing, he said. She was sweeping when I got here. Thought I'd wait a minute. Watch how she does it. Shows character. The stranger froze. Her eyes went wide. The corners she'd swept earlier, the exact ones he'd noticed, mirrored her voice. It was a habit she learned, the same as someone he once knew. She swallowed. He felt her tense against him, her breath quick. You don't need to hide, the sheriff said. I just want to look. No, the cowboy said. Flat. The word hit the porch like a hammer. You ain't getting a look. The man's smile didn't falter. His eyes were cold now. We just need to check her story. Make sure she's safe. She's safe, the cowboy said. In here, with me. That's safe enough. He could hear her shallow breaths behind him. He pressed a hand against her back. Not to calm her. To anchor himself. The sheriff stepped closer, reaching for the door. Open up. Don't make this hard. I said no, the cowboy said. His voice was steady now. He reached for the lock and clicked it. Metal clicked. Satisfying in its small, final way. The man's smile didn't change, but his eyes flicked down to the broom again. Funny, he said. She keeps things clean. Interesting choice for hiding. She's not hiding, the cowboy said. She's living. Something you wouldn't understand. He moved a step between the man and the stranger. Shoulders squared. Chest tight. He didn't move the rifle, but his fingers brushed it. Ready. The sheriff, or whatever he was, leaned back, calm. Too calm. I know what I'm looking at. But the governor's family wants assurance. That's all. The cowboy's jaw tightened. Assurance. Safe. Protection. Empty words that meant someone else got to decide. She don't need your assurance, he said. The stranger's eyes darted to the door, to him, then down at the floor. She pressed a hand to her mouth, trying not to tremble. You gonna answer? The sheriff asked. Voice soft, almost teasing. No, the cowboy said again. The man's fingers brushed the doorframe. He stepped back. His smile stayed, polite, controlled, but it didn't reach his eyes. See, the cowboy said, you can leave. Or stay. I don't care which. But she ain't going nowhere with you. The sheriff chuckled low. You think you can stop what's coming? The cowboy shrugged. I ain't thinking. I just know I won't let her go. The man's smile faltered for a fraction. Then he straightened, hands raised slightly. Suit yourself, he said. He tipped his hat once. A motion courteous on the surface, hollow underneath. The footsteps retreated. Gravel crunched. The night swallowed the sound. Inside, the stranger let out a long breath she'd been holding. He kept his hand on her shoulder. Her eyes met his for a second. No words. Just fear, relief, and the silent understanding that the world outside was still hungry, still watching. He walked to the window. Checked the road. Dust settled over the tracks like they'd never been. The porch was empty. No headlights. No voice. Only quiet. He turned back to her. She was still crouched, trembling. They'll be back, he said. Not a warning. Just fact. She nodded. Her jaw tight, hands clenched. I know, she whispered. He pressed a finger to her forehead. Fever still. You need rest, he said. She shook her head. No. Can't. Not yet. He crouched and grabbed the broom from the floor. Then we finish what you started, he said. Her eyes widened. Not understanding, not yet. Corners first, she whispered, almost to herself. He nodded. Corners first, he said. He handed it to her. She took it slowly. Careful. Like she'd been taught. Like she remembered every motion from someone long gone. Outside, the night waited. Dust and silence held the ranch like a secret. Inside, two figures bent over the floor. One swept, one watched, and the past hung between them, thick and patient. The sheriff didn't return that night. No sirens, no voices, just quiet. But the weight of him stayed. He could feel it pressing against the thin walls, against the corners she had swept so carefully. He watched her hands move over the floor, slow, deliberate, measured. His eyes followed each line she cleaned. The broom dipped and rose, like a heartbeat. You ever sweep like this? He asked. No, she said. Mama did. I watched. Learned. He nodded, not speaking for a while. He let the silence grow. Let it press against the shadows. Let it hold the shape of fear, of memory, of something that wouldn't leave. Finally, he said, good. Keep it steady. She glanced up. Eyes sharp now. Determined. Not defiant. Not afraid. Determined. He stepped back and let her move. Let her own this space again. The house held its breath with them. Every corner clean, every shadow aware. Outside, the night didn't move. Inside, the quiet wasn't peace. It was waiting. Watching. He kept his hand on the door. Fingers brushing the wood. Ready. The broom rose and fell. The corners were clean. And still, the shadows waited. The cowboy stood at the edge of the old stone well, hands on the rope, knuckles white. He had avoided it for years, let it sit under dust and shadow, a tin buried where no one would look. But the stranger's presence, the fever, the insistence of her eyes, made him draw it up. The bucket groaned against the rope, dragging something heavy through the dark water below. He pulled it higher. His breath hitched. The tin clinked against the well's edge. He caught it, shook it once, listened to the hollow rattle. The metal was cold under his palms. He set it on the ground and pried the lid open. Inside, folded neatly, was a letter. The handwriting was familiar, looping, feminine, and careful. "Papa," she whispered from behind him. She had come out quietly, bare feet on the stone. "Mama said you'd keep it." "I didn't," he said. His voice was low. He didn't move from the tin. Didn't open it yet. The paper smelled of age, smoke, and something that hurt the memory. Her hand hovered near the tin, but she didn't touch it. She had learned by now not to reach for things that belonged to the past. "You should," she said. "You should have kept it." He shook his head. The words caught somewhere in his throat. "I couldn't," he said. "I tried." "I thought," he trailed off, knowing the sentence wasn't necessary. She knelt beside him, closer than he expected. Her eyes studied the tin. "They burned her," she said. Quiet, almost casual. Like stating fact was all it took. "No," he said. His fingers finally moved. The paper unfolded under his touch. The handwriting was unmistakable. Letters to a child, promises never kept, names crossed out. Deals made with men whose smiles were wide enough to hide teeth that bit. He read each line, each word a weight pressing down on his chest. "They took her," she said, voice soft. Tremor in it. "And left me." He didn't answer at first. He couldn't. His stomach churned with every phrase. Every ink mark burned into him like fire he couldn't escape. He folded the letter back, carefully. Not to hide it, but to contain it. To keep it from spilling its weight all over the room. "Look at me," he said finally. She did, head tilted, chest rising, and falling in measured fear. It's not your fault." Her eyes narrowed. "It isn't?" "They burned her. They took my family. You were supposed to stop it." He swallowed. "I tried. And I ran." "You ran," she said. Not a question. Statement. Confirmation. He looked at the tin again, then back at her. His fingers brushed the metal. "I thought I was saving myself." "You saved yourself," she said. And she meant it. Not as a rebuke, not as comfort. Just the truth. They sat together in silence. The wind outside rattled the boards, but inside, the past pressed hard, unyielding. He traced a finger over the tin, over the letter folded inside it, as if he could feel the weight of all the years and all the choices in the indentation of the paper. "You'll have to decide," he said finally. "What to do with it?" "With everything." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she reached for the broom she'd abandoned, swept at the edge of the porch as if cleaning the dust might wipe away memory too. He watched the motion, slow and careful, deliberate. The same motion she had made in the house, the same as she had learned from someone long gone. He leaned back against the well and exhaled. The letter sat between them, a silent witness. Every corner of the porch, every shadow held pieces of it. The past had a smell, and it filled the space like smoke. "You ever think," she said quietly, "that things that burn don't always stay burned?" He didn't answer immediately. He nodded instead. Slow. Weighty. Full of understanding and regret. She pressed her hand to the tin, hesitant, almost afraid of touching it. "Mama said you'd keep it," she repeated. "Because it mattered." "I tried not to," he said. "I thought if I let it go, it might disappear." "Nothing disappears," she said. Her eyes met his. "Not memories. Not fire. Not names." He felt it then. The truth, sharp and cold. All of it pressed down in the small space between them. A choice had to be made. Not just for the letter, but for the lives wrapped around it. For the strangers, for the family gone, for her. He folded the letter back into the tin and closed the lid, hands shaking. Not fear. Not exactly. But the weight of what had been done, what had been ignored, and what had to be faced now pressed against him like a storm. She watched him quietly, letting him carry the weight a moment longer. Then she spoke, voice soft but steady. "We face it together." He didn't answer, only nodded. Outside, the wind shifted. Dust swirled around the edges of the porch. The night was patient. Waiting. He looked at her and saw reflected in her eyes every mistake, every fear, every ghost he had ever tried to outrun. And for the first time in years, he didn't turn away. He slid the tin into his jacket pocket. He stood, brushing off his hands. She mirrored the motion, lifting the broom again. The night had not ended. The past had not forgiven. But they moved forward anyway, side by side. The letter stayed in his pocket. The well stayed empty. The house waited. Outside, shadows bent under the moonlight. Inside, two figures held the fragile line between what had been lost and what could still be saved. And in that quiet, heavy space, the cowboy finally looked at her as if she were a mirror. Not for blame. Not for comfort. But for truth. She met his eyes. No fear now. Just understanding. He exhaled. A long, low sound that carried the weight of years. The night did not answer. But the tin in his pocket did. The past was alive. And they were both awake to it. The fire in the hearth burned low, embers glowing red against the dark of the room. The cowboy sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. She watched him, eyes wide but steady, like she was seeing him for the first time and for the last, all at once. "They called me Curse," she said. Her voice was low, raw. She traced the edge of the table with a finger, careful. "Mama said it. The neighbors said it. People you trust said it." "You ain't," he said. Firm. Not a reassurance, just truth. She let out a short laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "You left." "I did," he said. Silence hung, thick, almost solid. "I ran. Chose silence over fire. Thought that was safer. Thought it'd protect her." "You protected yourself," she said. Not angry. Just stating the obvious. "I thought I was saving you," he said. His voice cracked, low. His hands trembled slightly. "You saved yourself," she said again, calm, almost cruel in its simplicity. "You let the rest burn." He looked at the floor. Dust and saw marks under the boards. Shadows flickered against the walls, tall and patient. "I thought it'd be easier if I ran. If I said nothing. If I buried it all." "But you didn't," she said. "You couldn't." He raised his eyes. They met hers. The flame reflected in them, and he saw the truth, that running didn't save him. It left him hollow. Empty. Waiting for someone to demand the debts of the past. "I shouldn't have left," he admitted. Quiet. Almost a whisper. "I should have stayed. Fought." She leaned forward, elbows on her knees, chin resting on her hands. "Fought for what? For them? For you? For me?" "All of it," he said. And he meant it. Every word pressed down like lead. She shook her head slowly. "You can't fix it with words." "No," he said. But I can try to stop it from happening again. Can't I? Her lips pressed together. A pause long enough to hold the room in suspense. Shadows pressed against the corners. Outside, wind rattled the boards. Maybe, she said. But first, you have to remember what you let happen. All of it. He swallowed hard. Images flashed, a house burning, smoke curling into the sky, small hands reaching, voices screaming, names he tried to forget. He closed his eyes. The memory pressed against his chest, heavy, relentless. They took her, she said softly. Not accusing. Just stating what he already knew. And you were gone. I know, he said. I was scared. Tired. Stupid. I thought, he cut himself off. Words weren't enough. Never had been. She leaned back. Her eyes dark, reflective. We all have to live with what blood remembers. You, me, her. Can't run from it. He exhaled slowly. And the others? They'll remember too, she said. But maybe we can decide what comes next. If we choose differently. He looked at her. Really looked. The firelight caught the edge of her cheekbones, the tension in her jaw. She was young, but her eyes carried years she shouldn't have lived. You think we can? He asked. We have to try, she said. Her voice firm now, steady. Otherwise, it owns us. All of us. He nodded. Head heavy. He reached out, almost reflexively, and she didn't flinch. Fingers brushed. Not warmth, not comfort. Just a tether. A reminder that they were still alive, still breathing, still accountable to the past. Tell me, he said. Voice low, urgent. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Names, places, dates. Every word. I'll listen. She met his gaze. You sure you can handle it? I have to, he said. No more running. No more silence. Her shoulders squared. She began to speak. Words came slow, deliberate at first, names and dates spilled out, people and places, towns that didn't matter anymore, roads that led to nowhere, voices he recognized, faces burned into memory. Every story cut like a knife. Every truth he had buried clawed its way back. He listened. He didn't interrupt. Even when her voice shook, even when she choked on the pain, even when the names hit him in the chest like bullets. Why didn't you stop them? She asked suddenly, voice trembling. I tried, he said. And I ran. I know it's not enough. But Not enough, she echoed. Sharp, echoing off the walls. It never is. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. Shadows moved along the boards like living things. Her hands clenched into fists. His knuckles whitened as he rested them on his knees. You remember, she said finally. Every face. Every scream. Every lie. I do, he said. Voice steady. Not bravado. Not pride. Truth. Then we begin, she said. We decide what comes next. Not them. Us. He nodded slowly. He could feel the weight of it settle in his chest. Heavy. Pressing. But alive. Not gone. Not buried. The sound of boots outside cut through the quiet. Faint. Hesitant. Warning. He stood, hand on the rifle by the door. Get ready, he said. She rose too, shoulders squared. Eyes steady. Not afraid. Outside, the wind carried whispers of what was coming. Inside, two figures faced the past together. Blood remembered everything, but so did courage. They waited. And when the first shadow hit the porch, they were ready. Chapter 7, Fire Learns Names. The night came fast. Men on horseback, voices low and rough, moved across the ranch like smoke rolling over hills. They weren't polite this time. No greetings, no questions. Just the sound of leather, metal, and boots scraping dry earth. "Girl comes with us," one of them called. His tone left no room for argument. "She stays," the cowboy said. Simple. Firm. The rifle in his hands felt heavy, alive. The stranger stepped forward, body tense but unflinching. "My name ain't yours," she said. Clear, strong. Words that cut the darkness like fire. The men hesitated. Not much, but enough. The air tasted of dust and fear. The cowboy's eyes narrowed, calculating, listening to the wind, the boards, the trees. Every sound was a warning, every shadow a threat. Then the first shot rang out. Sharp, hot. It hit a post near the porch, splinters flying. He returned fire, careful, measured. Not enough to hit, just enough to warn. The stranger crouched low, moving toward the barn. He followed, rifle ready. Shots cracked through the night. Sparks flew as bullets struck stone and wood. The fire started slow, licking at dry grass. Embers drifted upward, carried on the wind, small orange sparks turning the dark into a living thing. The men tried to flank, but the cowboy anticipated. Every step she took, every turn she made, was mirrored by his positioning. She wasn't just a girl. She was a warning, a force, and he had finally remembered how to move with it. "My name isn't yours," she said again, voice louder, almost shouting over the crackle of flames. He grunted, moving past a flaming post. "And it won't be," he said. His words were fire too, a promise as solid as the boards beneath their boots. Smoke rolled over the ground, thick and suffocating. The men coughed, retreated, miscalculating, vulnerable. The fire spread, faster now. The barn caught a corner first. Flames hungrily devoured old timber, cracking, snapping, groaning. The stranger stayed low, but her eyes never wavered. She picked up a piece of fallen wood, ready if needed. She didn't just survive. She was alive in a way that demanded acknowledgement. One of the men reached for her, misjudged her distance, and she swung the stick. Hard. Solid. He stumbled, cursed, then ducked behind another horse. "Name," she said, pointing at him. "Say it. Or leave." The fire climbed higher, reflected in her eyes, in his. Shadows danced across faces, revealing fear and surprise. The men had smiles before, but now they were gone. Only the raw edge of calculation remained. The cowboy fired again. Not to kill, just to warn. Metal sang against wood. Sparks jumped. He could see them hesitate, the grip of power loosening. She moved again, faster now, closer to the door. Her steps were confident. She claimed the space around her. He followed, close enough to cover, close enough to breathe the same smoke, the same fear, the same heat. "My name isn't yours," she shouted once more. The words burned. Not just at them, but at him too. A reminder of promises, of choices, of lives taken and kept. The last of the men faltered. One tripped into the fire, screaming. The others scattered. Chaos swallowed them as the flames rose, devouring everything in sight. Smoke pressed against their faces. Ash rained down like quiet punishment. The fire was witness to the night, to truths long buried. It learned the names. It remembered the lies, the debts, the silence. When the fire settled, the smell of charred wood and blood hung heavy. The men were gone, scattered like dry leaves. The barn smoldered, shadows crawling over the blackened beams. The stranger stood straight, shoulders squared, eyes sharp. She was breathing hard, but not from fear. She was breathing because she was alive, because she had claimed herself, because her voice had not been stolen. He lowered the rifle slowly, letting the weight leave his hands. "You held your ground," he said. "I had to," she said. "Or it would have been theirs." Smoke curled around them, whispering of everything lost and everything reclaimed. Embers drifted past their faces, carried by the night wind. The cowboy studied her. Not the girl he found, but the woman she had become in the fire, in the chaos, in the defiance. He nodded once. No words could capture it. They stepped back from the blaze, letting the fire take what it would, leaving only the space they had reclaimed. Shadows moved over the blackened earth. Silence pressed against the walls. One man lay still beyond the fire's edge. Not moving. Not speaking. A reminder of the night's cost. She glanced at him. "We're not done," she said. "No," he said. "But we're standing." And in that moment, smoke and fire, shadows and ash, they both knew the names, the deaths, and the price of claiming them. Chapter 8 Daughters Don't Burn Quiet. The sheriff returned the next day, but the smile was gone. The politeness stripped away, leaving only sharp edges and cold eyes. He stood on the porch, hands on his hips, surveying the smoldering remains of the barn. "You knew," the stranger said, stepping beside the cowboy. Her voice was calm, but it carried steel. "All along." The sheriff blinked once. "We all did," he said. "No regret. Just the weight of authority, of tradition, of power protected." She shook her head. "And you let it happen. You let them take her, burn her, disappear her, and you did nothing." The sheriff shifted, but didn't answer. The air hung thick with dust and smoke, and for the first time, he looked small. The house behind them, blackened and scarred, was no longer just a shelter, it was a line drawn in fire and blood. The cowboy stood tall, hands loose on the rifle, eyes steady. "She's done runnin'," he said. "We stand here." The stranger took a step forward. Closer. Her eyes burned with something fierce and raw. "I will not hide anymore. Not from you, not from them, not from the world that stole everything from me." The sheriff's hand twitched toward his coat, toward the badge. Authority threatened. But she didn't flinch. Not once. Her back straight, chin high, breathing steady. The cowboy glanced at her. "I'll stand too," he said. Not overbearing. Not possessive. Just presence, a shield for the storm she was creating. "You don't understand," the sheriff said, his voice sharper now, trying to regain the control that had slipped through his fingers. "This isn't yours to decide." "Nothing ever was," she said. "Not your rules. Not your law. Not your silence." The sheriff's jaw tightened. He knew he'd lost. The fire, the smoke, the courage in her eyes, it had shifted everything. His power felt hollow, meaningless against someone who refused to vanish. "Then you'll answer for this," he said, low. Threat beneath every word. She smiled. Small, precise. Not friendly. A warning. "Maybe. But I'll answer on my terms." The cowboy shifted slightly, standing closer. He didn't speak. No need. Presence alone was enough to tip the scales. They stayed like that for minutes that stretched like hours. Dust settled on the porch. Smoke lingered in the air, curling around beams and boards. The sheriff realized his authority didn't carry weight here anymore. Not in this house. Not in this moment. Finally, he stepped back, tipping his hat slightly. "We'll see," he said. Voice calm, but tight. He turned and walked down the porch steps, boots stirring dust. The door shut behind him. Silence held, heavy but solid, like a wall built from the fire itself. The cowboy exhaled slowly, shoulders easing for the first time in days. The stranger's eyes met his. "We did it," he said quietly. "No," she said. "We just started. They'll be back. Others. But we won't run." He nodded. "We won't." They moved through the house together. Every room bore the traces of fear and courage. Corners swept, ashes cleared, the air heavy but claiming its own peace. She paused by the window, looking out at the road. Dust drifted across the sunlit yard. "Sirens fade, but they never stop coming," she said. He leaned beside her. "Then we face it, every time." side by side. Her hand brushed the broom in the corner. It leaned and used, waiting. She traced it lightly. "We'll sweep later," she said. "Yeah," he said. "Later." The house felt alive now. Not from fear, not from fire, but from refusal. She had claimed herself, and he had claimed his place beside her. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it was theirs. The morning crept in through the windows, soft and indifferent. The world outside waited. The shadows of the past lingered. But inside, two people stood unbroken, and the ranch itself seemed to lean into their defiance. No one would burn them quiet again. Not while they were awake, not while they were together. The day waited. And they waited with it, ready. Chapter 9, Say It If You Mean It. The dawn broke slow, pale light sliding through the cracks in the boards. The house was quiet now, but the air was thick with the weight of what had passed and what was still to come. He sat at the table, elbows resting on his knees, staring at the floorboards. She stood near the window, broom forgotten in her hands, watching the morning stretch across the yard. "You still don't want the name?" she asked softly. He didn't answer immediately. His hands tightened in his lap. He could feel the word pressed against the walls, heavy, demanding. He swallowed, slow, deliberate. "Say it slow," he said. She stepped closer. Her eyes were steady, clear, fire and patience all in one. "Papa," she said. The word landed in the room. Not a whisper. Not a plea. Just truth. He felt it in his chest, in the empty spaces he had carried all these years. He breathed it in. Let it sit. Then he said it, finally, out loud. "Papa." The sound was steady, firm. Not hesitant. Not forced. Not a title borrowed from the past. A choice. His choice. She smiled, small, almost imperceptible, but full of relief. The tension in her shoulders eased. For the first time since she arrived, she exhaled fully, slowly, letting the room hold her breath without pressing down on it. He stood, crossing the room to her. She didn't move back. He reached out a hand, just a gesture, nothing more. She touched it lightly. The house seemed to breathe with them, quiet but alive. Shadows shifted in corners, soft and patient. Dust motes drifted through the sunbeams, ordinary and sacred at the same time. Outside, the road was empty. No sirens. No headlights. Just the distant crow of a rooster, the wind stirring through the sparse trees, and the memory of what had happened pressed gently against the walls. "You mean it," she said. Not a question, more a statement that needed no confirmation. "I do," he said. The broom leaned against the wall, untouched. The house smelled faintly of smoke, ash, and something older, promise, maybe, or memory. They moved slowly through the rooms together. Every corner, every shadow, held what had been lost and what had been reclaimed. His eyes lingered on the marks in the floor, the places she had swept, the traces of her presence that had been here before she even spoke the word. "I suppose it's not just a name," he said, finally breaking the silence. "No," she said. "It's a choice. It's a promise. It's standing where you're supposed to stand, even when the world wants you to kneel." He nodded. The weight in his chest lifted a little. The word, once foreign, now anchored him. He had said it. She had said it. Together, they had claimed it. Outside, the wind carried the scent of dust and new growth. Inside, the air held the quiet of understanding, the kind that doesn't need more words. They opened the door together. Morning spilled across the porch, bright and indifferent. The road stretched away, empty and waiting. He looked at her. She looked at him. Neither spoke, because nothing more needed saying. The past was still there, heavy and patient, but it no longer held power over the room, over the house, over them. They stepped outside. Sun on their faces, dirt under their boots, the world moving slow and careless beyond the gates of the ranch. "Papa," she said again, lightly this time. Not testing, not pleading. Just saying. Yes, he said. Steady. Whole. And with that, the first day of what they would build together began. The sun hung low over the ranch, soft gold spilling across the blackened timbers, dust, and scorched grass. The cowboy and the stranger worked quietly, side by side, digging a small hole near the edge of the porch. The tin from the well rested beside them, heavy with its past, folded letters tucked inside. Neither spoke much, words felt unnecessary when the ground itself seemed to hold all the weight of years. "Why bury it?" she asked finally, voice low. "Not the truth," he said, patting the tin. "Just the paper. Keeps the past from spilling over everything else." She nodded, understanding. Hands steady, she pressed the tin into the hole, the earth swallowing it with a quiet finality. The dirt settled over it, and for a moment, silence stretched across the ranch, thick and patient. He brushed his hands on his pants, standing to look around. The barn was gone, charred remained sharp against the horizon. The house still stood, battered but upright, shadows retreating in the late afternoon light. Scars on the land, scars on them both. "We ain't hidin'," he said finally. "No," she said. "Good." They stayed together at the edge of the porch, surveying what remained. The wind carried the smell of smoke, earth, and dust. The shadows leaned away, softened by the sun. The world beyond the gates was still dangerous, still hungry, still full of men with smiles, but here, they had carved a line, firm and unyielding. The broom leaned against the wall inside, forgotten. She ran her hand along its handle, not picking it up, just acknowledging it. "We'll sweep later," she said. "Yeah," he said. And he meant it. Not a promise to clean the floors, but a promise to care for the space they held, to tend what remained of what was theirs. She glanced at him, eyes softening. "You think it'll be easy?" "No," he said. "But what's worth it ever is." The sun dipped lower, painting the ranch in gold and shadow. They stood in quiet solidarity, not as child and father, not as protector and rescued, but as two people who had faced fire, loss, and the weight of the past and had chosen to remain. Footsteps stirred in the distance, not threatening. Animals moved, dust drifted in shafts of light, and the world seemed to hold its breath with them. He leaned against the porch rail, watching the horizon. She stepped beside him, shoulders brushing, not clinging, not distant. Just present. "Morning'll come," he said. "Morning always does," she said. They stayed there, letting the ranch breathe with them. The house, the land, the scars, they all remained standing. Survivors, like them. The broom remained where it had been set, upright, silent, a symbol of patience, resilience, and the work still to come. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them moved to fight what had been lost. They only stood, watching the light settle on what stayed standing. The past had been faced. The present claimed. The future waited, but here, in this scorched and battered place, two figures remained. Strong. Quiet. Whole. End.